So I just want a comment from Zanele as to why why this behavior, firstly and foremostly.
Well, thank you, JT. Well, I won't even say thank you because it's quite a difficult one. I mean, this week alone, we've seen so much brutality against women and so much anger. We recognize and that this is basically acts of anger and frustration, and these are psychological issues because when someone chooses to take the life of another person and take their own life, it's a psychological issue, but also it goes beyond. It also says that we still have the sense of entitlement that men have on women's lives to say, I control, I can do that. I know a lot of people have justified why the woman did this, why there is no justification for taking someone's life. And the Correctional Services Commissioner said it right. She said there's a need for psychosocial support within the armed forces. There's a need. I know that they have psychological units, but I don't think they were taking it that serious. We saw the Royal Eswatini Police recruit a lot of psychologists, and I thought that would work. But even in the health sector, health workers do not want to see their peers for psychological counseling to cope with the situation. So now we need to go into a state of emergency against violence against women and gender-based violence in general in the country, wherein one of the components would be money going in to psychosocial support in all sectors, because it doesn't mean it's just the armed forces, it's people at home, it's every department of government as well needs to have a social worker at least that will see their peers to talk about issues and to just let steam down and create strategies on how to cope with daily life and how to cope with stress and when they're feeling overwhelmed by certain situations. I think that's what I can say for now.
Nomzama, I think you work for government. In your viewpoint, in your office viewpoint, in your understanding, what is really going on?
Thank you, JT, for that question. Well, like I'll also allude with what Zanele had said. I do agree that we need psychosocial support in place. But also what I want to highlight here is that, maybe government, civil society and other partners can put this in place and find it being underutilized at some point. So this also goes with us as individuals. I've heard some other people talk about seeking help, especially mental health, as an abomination, or it's something that's looked down upon, or it's for a certain bracket of people. Yet we have to come to an understanding that seeking psychological help, psychosocial help, is for everyone. We all have issues. For example, right now, we are dealing with the pandemic. We are surviving. It is hard to survive. We are losing our parents. We are losing our relatives. We are losing our resources. We are compelled to be kept in one space, something that we are not used to. And such things have taken such a huge toll on us. So there's so much adjustment going on. And it's very unfortunate that men, in most cases, they do not confide to others. They do not speak to others about the issues affecting them. Because we might see this as an issue, maybe an issue that is affecting a relationship, only to find that going behind that, maybe the woman or maybe the man has financial issues, has other stresses. So because these people can't talk, they can't seek help, especially professional help, hence they cough out their anger in this manner. So it's from my side, I think it's more about us realizing that we need help. And when you are faced with challenges, seek for professional help. Get someone to talk to. I would urge men especially to learn to speak out about issues affecting them.
But probably it's not. Probably one would say that it's not in. Zanele, one would say that it's not in the nature of the male species. To actually go out and look for help. That's point number one. Before, I know we need to look at, substantially, we need to look at this issue as a gender issue. But there are, as Nonzama has put, there are a number of factors, that basically that can lead to basically one going and actually just taking their lives and taking the lives of those they initially promised to love, and those basically that they promised to to take care of. And Nonzama touched on a very crucial one, some men might go through a little bit of or maybe go through a financial challenge as such, a financial frustration, and you're going through this financial stress, and then all of a sudden you get a command to the courts where you have to appear, and where you basically have to surrender whatever finances that you have. In some instances, it's basically a difficult situation for a male basically to be in at this moment, because the man is actually got to look at issues such as maintenance issues more than, if I should think, more than a woman. So is it not maybe another problem that basically that we need to look at before we look at gender, we look at the gender issue or the gender aggression?
So you've said it, Santon, because you said it's not in the nature of men to talk. That's not true.
I'm saying probably.
But that's
maybe
not
I didn't
true.
use the word probably, but
yeah, but it's not true. And whether there's probably or there's no probably, it's not true, because people are taught what they can do and what they cannot do when they get into a society where men are told you do not speak up about your issues, a man should not cry, a man should always have a solution, a man is the head of the household, he needs to provide financially, he needs to put up this strong front and always be on top of things. So it's not true that men cannot call out and speak up. I do not have the exact statistics for probably places like the UK, because that's a gloomy, it's always grey. Like there's no sun in the UK. It's always grey. So weather is associated with your psychological well-being, believe it or not. But if the sun doesn't come out and you don't get that vitamin D, you get depressed. So a lot of men there, because it's made normal. You are born into this climate, and you are even at school, you are taken through a counselor that will listen to your problems, how you can cope with your problems, etc. So it's not true that men don't have the nature. They are introverts and they're outroverts. General, period. There's no sex, whether it's male or female. Yes, there's financial frustrations and all of those, and those have hit everyone across the board. We have said numerous times that women in the informal sector have been hit very hard, and that also translates to the men that they live with, because they are also all contributing to the pot of the home. But when it comes to the maintenance issue, we get it wrong when we say men face the burden of maintenance. I think it should start earlier on. When people choose to have sex, the government of Eswatini has done a lot for us in ensuring condom usage, in ensuring that family planning, like people, even kids will tell you there's the loop, there's the injection, there's this, there's that. You understand? So I think we need to get to a position where when we are having sex. Unfortunately, in Eswatini, boys are told that wearing a condom is weak or whatever. There's just these myths around condom usage. But you need to consciously think, am I ready for a child? Because children are expensive. I was telling you guys the other day that when I was pregnant with my first child, my baby father, because we were not married at the time, was giving me $2,000 per month for one child. And it was still in my stomach. It was not outside, So children are very expensive. So when we say the burden is on the man, it's expensive for both parties, because if I'm also providing shelter for the child, I'm providing the hugs every day and the reassurance and the discipline. Those are things that take a toll on someone's well-being. So I think it's time for Eswatini to actually have this conversation of having kids. It should not be necessary that when you have sex, there's a child born. It needs to be a conscious decision that I would like to have a child, I would like to make a child, so that you also make headway.
But Nomzamo, can you actually blame the male species for that? Because I also had this conversation with my wife just last night. We were talking about the same thing. We were watching a movie. We watch a lot of movies, by the way. We were watching a movie, and my wife said that no, this man is basically responsible for his actions. I mean, he made this woman pregnant. And I turned around to my wife and I said, no, they both had sexual intercourse, and they both enjoyed sexual intercourse. So now the thing is, why should it have been the man's responsibility? Because my wife said to me that no, it's his responsibility. He should have used. There's so many condoms, as Danielle is saying. There's so much education on condoms. So the issue is, I agree with you. The issue is it's both.
It's both.
So with Danielle saying that society, it's because of society. It's society that says a man should not cry. Largely, it's also society.
Yes.
It's woman's lib, if I may put it that way. It's also today's society, that says that men should cry. So one cannot really draw the line. I'm just saying that maybe, possibly, one could not draw the line and say that women go through the same situation, but at the end of the day, it's men's responsibility, and there's so many condoms. There's so much education basically on condomizing that the decision basically has to be made before the move, before the sexual act. Nomzamo?
Okay.
I know it's a difficult one, but
it is. But okay, from my point of view, I do not believe in the blame game. I believe that when a child is born, the child belongs to the mother, the child belongs to the father. So these two people, either married or not, because now the child is born, the first priority and must be given to the child.
Yeah.
The father carries 50% responsibility. Yes, 50%
I love that.
responsibility to the child's well-being, growth, development, and whatever. That also goes for the mother as well, because this child belongs to both of them. I think even if we're talking about we're talking about a child who was adopted, that child, it was both their agreement that the child is theirs now. So they both have to contribute
whether
to the
split up or
upbringing,
not,
exactly. To the upbringing of this child. And even we have the Child Protection and Welfare Act. So as parents of this child, we are to provide for everything that concerns the child. And the decisions that we take should be at the best interest of the child. That's what the CPWA says.
Mm.
You see. So also what I want to raise here is that, okay, here we are now at conflict with one another. Like, I'll go back to the same words. Whatever decisions that we make must be at the best interest of that child. 1. 2, people must learn to communicate and not fight. What we are seeing here is people end up fighting one another, using the child, having the child in the middle. And that is totally wrong, because a child is innocent, you see. So partners should learn to communicate with one another. We are eMaswati. We were raised ngenhlonipho. Uhlonipha umuntu doesn't make you lose your eye or your leg. To even bow to other, these people end up fighting vele nje, yabo. So you find that someone will hold back on support, to fix the other partner.
Yeah.
Remember, it's not about you. It's not about her. It's about the child.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a point that's a very, very important point. And as you said, that we should put, in this situation, we should put the child's interest first. And I'm just wondering, of what you said, Nansama, would say we need to put the child's interest first. If we put the child's interest first, yes, I agree. But what weight does it have when you put the child's interest first, and you come out with laws legally, realistically, that actually push the parent, the paternal parents now, the father, in a corner, in such a corner that he can't breathe anymore. And he decides that, well, you know what, if I can't have 2 breaths, what's the use of having 2 breaths in life anymore? I can't take it anymore. So is this the way that we should actually put the child first? Because you're not putting the child first, you're putting the child in danger. The child will grow up with that psychological thing in his mind that my father, because of the arguments that my father had with my mother, my father decided that he can't take life anymore. Is this the situation, or is this the scenario we're looking at? Because if we say we're putting the child first without even having the consciousness of trying to understand what it is exactly that both parents are going through, and what is it that the male parent at that time is basically going through, because children have lost, within 2 days, 2 fathers have lost their lives. Is it really a way of putting the child forward?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Taking your life away is not part of putting the child first. Because this child will grow up, even if the family, for example, the maternal side, can hide this, can hide the fact on what happened for the father to lose life, or can even hide how the father passed on. Let's just put it like that. At some point, one day, either the child, either the child receives this news through her friends while at school, while at their play areas. But at some point, or either when this child has grown, maybe at teenage level or an adult, gets to finally hear the different, because people will be saying, will be coming up with so many different stories to say, oh, you are so and so, oh, your father passed on that this way, you see. So instead it will hurt the child even more. It might not be today, but in future. That's why we end up having children as young as 10 years old now involved in drugs, alcohol intake, you see. Because these children, our children now, are way smarter You see, they get to, and the information is everywhere. They get to hear about information at any point. You see, so they find themselves in a position whereby they cannot talk to anyone. Instead, they are being mocked and bullied about it. So these kids end up. We've heard of cases whereby children attempt to commit suicide. You see, so it's not fair at all. It's not fair at all. I don't know what my colleague has to say.
I think one thing that I can say is that for what Nomzamo has said about that, the child is the responsibility of the parents, both parents, 50%. But what you are missing is that the 50% also accounts for where the child is living. So do you understand that if the child is living with the father, the mother does have to pay maintenance in contribution to the welfare of the child? And even if they dump the child with a go-go, both parents must contribute to the well-being of the child, because no one must go scot-free here. This child was given birth by two people, and we do not do any justice by saying that as women, I will not take any maintenance from this man anyway. But it's not about you. It's about the child's well-being. 1. 2, it's about the child's involvement with both of their parents. And if men are made to think that they can get away with not paying maintenance for their children, that's where we got it wrong. Because even if they can come and see the child for 1 hour and give them ice cream, if you don't need the money, that time spent is still maintenance, because it goes to the psychological well-being of the child. Unless the father is a person who really is aggressive, etc., to the child. But the well-being of the child needs to be taken accounted for both.
No, Sam, I know that you actually want to come in, but just before you come in with your points, yes, it's a responsibility basically of both parents. But Zanele, I've known situations where the mother, again here, most naturally basically will basically be with the child most of the time and look after the child. And sometimes, as Nonzamo said before, that the parents basically, because now the parents have a misunderstanding or misconceptions, they come to a point where no one wants to listen to the other. And in that case, even before that, you just feel, the woman could feel that, I'm living with this child, and although he's paying maintenance, I'm not going to allow him basically to see this child. You see, and some women actually go as far as making demands and saying that you're not going to see this child unless A, B, and C is happening. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is I'm just looking at the trend the past 2 days, that going back to it, we're looking at situations as to, I know this is a gender, it comes down to a gender question. It does. But the thing is, it shouldn't be, I should think, it shouldn't really be the case. It should be a case where the two parties basically sit down and work things out realistically. I don't need to have a relationship anymore with the mother of my kid if I feel that, I can't go on with this relationship, but at least have a relationship with your child. But the challenge is that my experiences is that women normally tend to use this as a weapon, to use the children basically as a weapon to say, well, you're not going to get, you're not going to get hold, you're not going to get through to this child. Nonsama?
Well, that is very wrong, JT. I agree with you that you don't need to get to a point where you say you will not see the child, even because in some instances there are women. They are fathers who even contribute to the child's well-being, even though they are not with the mother. But we also experience those cases whereby whatever the man does, the mother at the end of the day is like, you're not going to see the child still. You see, so that's wrong. But also, anyways, what I wanted to also emphasize is that contribution to the child's growth and well-being is not. Let's stop monetizing everything. It's not about just contributing a check, giving that check. You know, it also includes having time with that child, playing with that child. I liked the campaign that Kwaka Invota was running in the past year. Babe Lokoto, you see. We saw fathers doing activities with their children. We saw fathers orienting their girl children around chores and activities that that are perceived as boys' activities.
Yeah.
We saw fathers orienting their girls around activities that are said to be boys' activities. I liked that campaign, and I hope Kwaka Invota will continue with such activities so as to sensitize men, because this also contributes on how a man can contribute in the growth and well-being of the child. So what I'm trying to say is that it shouldn't be about money. That he didn't give the 500. The fact that he came to see the child, the fact that he brought maybe a toy even. The fact that he took this child for a haircut for braiding, it means a lot. Even time, especially a hug, a smile, a hug from the father is also contributing to the growth and development of this child. Let's stop monetizing things.
You know, the funny thing is that I know of a lot of cases where children have actually, there's one particular case that comes into mind. The child was living with the father and the mother did not have access. The father's family said she will not see this child. You understand that? And they were barring her from seeing the child. And then she sought court intervention to see her child, to just have one holiday with the child. And on that holiday, Wakanza, the child, anima scabies all over the body. To say, go to this child is malnourished and not eating well. She's not looked after. She sought court intervention and the court said, okay, let the child come and live with you for a term and let's see how they improve. What did the father do? Kidnap the child at the school. So there's a lot of things that we always try to look at the mother's side. Women are holding and they don't want access. When it's a man holding against a woman, the whole family protects that man. But when it's a woman, it's just the woman. And everyone will talk about it, just like these killings. Everyone is justifying the man's actions and etc. I just want that to stop. And we say, what we've been saying in this show, the best interest of the child needs to come first. We need not monetize everything. And if our court systems can also come into play with that, not monetizing everything, allowing visitation rights as part of the child's welfare. Allow you understand that all of these things, like there's these memes that have been going around with a man who saw that a bag of Pampers was 403 and he was paying 500 for maintenance. He just collapsed to say, so the woman said, okay, no, you go and buy the Pampers and buy the things for the child for the month and bring them. He collapsed at the store to say, how? Just the Pampers that the child uses for a month. So that's where we get to monetize everything, and that's where the problem comes. But yeah, I think as a society we can fix this by just generating things from the start, and normalizing girls and boys to speak up from preschool. We have psychosocial support games. We have early child development. I know the DPM's office is working on a program for early child development that will be rolled out nationwide. So we just need to normalize things. But as an emergency for now, we need to put money into making gender-based violence and violence against women as a national emergency.
I think we're in minus already with time, so I think that's actually a good point, Zanele. That's a good point to conclude. Nomzamo, your concluding a point. We could go on, but the thing is, the 30 minutes we have is.
JT, it wasn't 30 minutes, it was 5 minutes.
We started 6 minutes late.
You know,
By the way.
No, but unfortunately, because we have to make way for the next program.
yeah,
Yeah,
listeners at
unfortunately,
home. Listeners at home, let's be patient with one another. Let's be patient with one another. Let's seek help. Let's seek help. There are facilities out there. Some others are private, they charge. Some are free under government services. We try and seek help. I hope, and what I'm afraid of is it's becoming a trend. I'm very scared. And this has happened in the month of women.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
disheartening.
Yeah. The week of.
Yeah, just the other.
Yeah.
In fact, since the beginning of the week, we've been here and talking about these issues, but we are seeing more of such incidences, and it's very disheartening. All I can say is that let's be patient with one another. Let's talk. Let's negotiate. Let's respect one another. Singemaswati, we were raised with respect.
Yeah.
That's all. I think for now, that's what I can say.
Okay.
All right. I would like to say we came in here to talk about International Women's
Oh
Day.
yeah.
We went and we talked about maintenance, gender-based violence, but that's what needed to be done, and we are happy about that. Remember, spread love, not hate. Always be patient. You never know what somebody else is going through. So be kind when you speak to the next person.
Yes, be kind.
Of course, yes, and I really love those ending words. Be kind. I also love Nonzama's words of saying that it's Maswati vele, so respect is embedded within in our culture, and we need to love, and we need to consider, and we need to respect. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful show, although the time has been very, very short. I am